Greetings, everybody. Shay here. I am the team chaplain along with my wife at CFARox. I also work back of house doing some catering things. Specifically on Monday, I put together the Excelsior order and deliver it. Wanted to just kind of introduce myself a little bit, tell you a little bit about who I am, and maybe just give you a little bit of a guest perspective because I was a guest for a long time before I ever became a team member. Um, First of all, I go by four names. For those of you who know me, you probably know me by the name Shay. That was what I was called growing up. But I also have three other names that people call me. One of those is Dad. I have three kids. Each of my three kids have three kids, and so that means I have 9 grandkids. I also go by the name Pop Pop because that's the name that my grandkids call me. And then I also go by the name Rabbi. Now, that's a really interesting name because I am a Christian. I'm a believer in Jesus. I'm a pastor at a church, and yet people call me Rabbi, especially at my church. And that's because I was born into a Jewish family and became a Christian when I was in high school and have then been in ministry for over 40 years now. So I tell you all that about my different names just to emphasize the fact that names are important. I hope you know that, and I hope that you already work hard at learning people's names, especially the names of everybody that you work with. I know most of you work back of house, and one of the things that I love about CFARox is that we have name tags that we wear, and that helps us to identify everybody in the store. But even outside of the store, names are important, and they help us to connect to people. So work really hard at learning people's names. It's something that I have to work really hard at because I don't remember names easily, but I try to work hard at it so that I can call people by their name. I collect things. I'll tell you about a couple of things that I collect. One of the things that I collect is questions. If you've ever been around me and we've ever had a chance to have a conversation, then probably I asked you as many questions as I thought I could get away with because I love to ask questions. I love to learn about people, and questions are a great way to get to know other people. I would even encourage you, take some time every day just to ask people that you're working with a couple of questions just to get to know them a little bit better every day. I've got hundreds and hundreds of questions that I have collected over the years. Questions that help me to get to know people beyond just, what's your name? Where do you work? Tell me about your family. But just other questions that help me to get to know people. One of the things that I do is I just try to make observations about things that people are wearing, things that I happen to notice about them, and it gives me questions to ask. For instance, you could probably, just by watching this video, come up with 2 or 3 questions that would be great questions to ask me the next time that you see me. For instance, you see in the background a picture that says, "The joy of the Lord is my strength." So one question that you could ask is, why do I have that verse of scripture hanging on my wall? You also see a picture of me when I was a much younger man on a golf magazine. You could ask me, what was that all about? You also see a hippopotamus. You could ask me why I've got a hippopotamus on my shelf at home. So there's 3 questions right away that you could ask just by making some observations of what you are watching right now. I also collect stories and memories. There's a quote that I really love that says, "Live a life worth telling stories about." And I've had a chance to do a lot of traveling because of my job as a pastor. I went on a lot of mission trips and I collected a lot of stories. I'll tell you about one of those stories. I was in the country of Haiti. Now, Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the world. It is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and people there live on less than $1,000 a year. And so it's a very, very poor country. Most people there are trying to figure out where their next meal is going to come from. I was riding around in the back of a pickup truck a number of years ago, and we came across this little girl who was on the side of the road. She was maybe 10 or 12 years old, and she was wearing everything that she owned. It was just an old tattered dress, and it was probably everything that she owned, and no doubt she was wondering where her next meal was going to come from. But she had this big old smile on her face, and she was waving her hand and calling out to us in the back of the pickup truck and trying to get our attention. But the thing that I remember is this big old smile on her face. And here was a girl who really had almost nothing to her name, and yet she was smiling. And it was just a reminder to me that happiness isn't determined by how much stuff you have. Here was a little girl that had nothing, and yet she was smiling. And happiness is not determined by how much stuff that you have. And yet in America, we try to equate happiness with stuff. And I want to encourage you to just remember that stuff does not bring about happiness. Relationships bring about happiness. In my case, it's my relationship with God that has given me joy in my life. And so I just encourage you to understand that it doesn't matter how much stuff you have, none of that stuff is going to make you happy. But I've never forgotten that story of that little girl. Then I want to tell you about one of the other things that I collect. I collect steps. Now that's a weird thing to collect, but as I'm getting older, I am now 66 years old. It's very important for me to get exercise, to get steps every day. But even more than that, I've taken the word steps and I have turned it into an acrostic, S-T-E-P. And I've given a word to each of those letters, S-T-E-P, serve, thank, encourage, pray. Serve, thank, encourage, pray. And I try to ask myself 4 questions every day. Who can I serve? Who can I encourage? Who can I thank? And who can I pray for? I didn't necessarily do those in the exact order. Serve, thank, encourage, pray. But you get the idea. Who can I serve? Who can I thank? Who can I encourage? And who can I pray for? I also love really great quotes. One of the quotes that I love is by a guy by the name of Bob Pierce. He's the founder of an organization called World Vision. And a number of years ago, he made this quote. He said, "You may not be able to change the world, but you can change the world for one person." Let me say it again. You may not be able to change the world, but you can change the world for one person. You, as having the opportunity at CFARox to change people's worlds. It may be another team member. It may be a guest if you have an opportunity to interact with some of our guests. But you may not be able to change the world, but you can change the world for one person. It may be somebody in your neighborhood. It may be somebody even in your family just going through a tough time, a bad day, and maybe it's something that you say, maybe it's something you do for them that changes that person's world. We've got lots of stories at CFARox about how our store has been used to change somebody's world as they've come through the drive-through, and we've noticed that that maybe it's been a bad day. Maybe they are just coming from the hospital, which is right across the street from us, and we've had a chance to maybe offer them a free meal or just say an encouraging word to them, and we've had people write back to us or call us and tell us that it made a huge difference in their lives because of the interaction that they had with one of our team members. But it doesn't stop just, outside of with our store. You've got the opportunity to change somebody's world every day. And I want to encourage you to be on the lookout for ways to do that. So that's a little bit about my story. I hope I get a chance to get to know each of you better. Looking forward to our time together at CFARox. I love our store. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to grow. It's a great place to learn. And there are great people at CFARox. And I hope you take advantage of getting to know people better. I'll talk to you soon, and this is Rabbi Reiner saying Shalom, y'all.